Hello and welcome. My name's Jackie and I'm from Monash University. But for the purpose of today's presentation, I represent TIS, as does everybody else on the panel today. Today, I also have with me Barney Ray from the University of Melbourne, Daniel Polidano from RMIT and Annalisa from Swinburne University. Before we commence the presentation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and any Indigenous people who may be watching this presentation today. So what is TIS? It's a collective of universities, TAFEs and independent tertiary colleges, or ITCs as we call them, that hope to inform students and help them prepare for their future careers. There are many options for students after year 12, including going into full-time work, taking a gap year, apprenticeships or traineeships, or going into further study. Whether you're completing VCE, IB or VCAL, there's likely to be an option out there for you. Today we'll focus on what you need to think about over the coming months and years to help you make a decision about what you should do when you complete school. So why choose tertiary study? We're going to start by looking at a few different reasons why you may wish to pursue tertiary study. The main reason to pursue tertiary study is to get a job and pursue a career. In Australia, the workforce participation is much higher for those who complete study after high school. Recent statistics show that those with just a high school certificate, only 61% of these people are currently in the workforce. On the other hand, workforce participation for people with a tertiary qualification is between 80 and 90%. Statistics show that employers prefer workers with a tertiary qualification. And then there's the money. People with no tertiary qualification, the median weekly income is $784. With one tertiary qualification, that increases to $1,100. And with two or more qualifications, these people can earn up to $1,342 a week. Another reason to consider tertiary study is that there are so many different options out there. You can fully train or study in something that you're really interested in. So if you have a passion or a special interest in something, there's probably going to be a course that's perfect for you. You can meet lots of new people during your course and build lifelong friendships. Participate in clubs or special interest groups, social events and sporting teams. There's opportunities for travel, including study tours and student exchange. So the world that we are living in is changing, and the great news is we're all living longer. But living longer also means spending longer in the workforce. Does this mean that we have to make a decision about what we're going to do over the next few years for the rest of our lives? Absolutely not. We're already seeing an increasing number of career changes during life, and this isn't just between changing jobs, but between completely different types of work. The Foundation of Youth Australia suggests current high school students will have up to 17 different jobs over 5 different careers in their life, which is very different to what your parents or grandparents may have experienced. However, this introduces a need for lifelong learning and support to support this new and exciting approach to work over a lifetime. So one of the ways to support this lifelong learning is by developing a range of soft or transferable skills, including planning, teamwork, written and communication skills, critical thinking, problem solving, and many more. Whether it's a certificate, a diploma or bachelor course, these skills are learned through tertiary studies. This is why the Foundation of Youth Australia also reports that the best place to develop and practice these skills is done whilst getting a tertiary qualification. Other trends suggest that transferable skills are so vital to succeed because many of the jobs of the future don't actually exist today. So we'll need more people who have honed these flexible skills with a tertiary qualification today that will be able to adapt to these new challenges of tomorrow. Because of this, it's also likely that tertiary study that you do when you leave high school is not the only time that you will do tertiary study. You may choose to return later in life to pursue postgraduate studies in the area that you're working, or if you're changing careers, you may choose, for example, a TAFE qualification to retrain in a different area. Now I'm going to hand over to Daniel, who's going to talk about what you can study.
Thanks, Jackie. So there are many types of different tertiary qualifications, and that includes more than just a range of study areas you can choose. We'll look at those different types now. So The first type that I'll touch on are certificates, diplomas, and advanced diplomas. So these qualifications are what we call a vocational education and are usually taught at TAFEs, independent tertiary colleges, or dual sector universities. TAFE stands for Technical and Further Education, and you can usually complete a certificate, diploma, or an advanced diploma within 6 months to 2 years. But do note that some apprenticeships can be 3 to 4 years long. ATAR scores are generally not required for these type of courses. So this means that both VCAL and VCE students can apply for them. And diplomas and advanced diplomas can often provide pathways and credit into bachelor degrees at universities. It's important to really do your research into which diplomas and advanced diplomas can be used as pathways into degrees, and we'll talk a bit more about pathways later on throughout this presentation. Vocational education can often be hands-on learning where students learn practical skills to be work ready, and the learning environment is similar to high school. So you'll spend your time predominantly with the same classmates and move along to classes with this group of people so that you can sort of collaborate with this same group rather than mixing and matching. Students generally spend 20 to 25 hours per week at TAFE, and you can apply for these courses often directly to the institution, but also through VTAC. So do your research, depending on the institution or the course that you're interested in, as to how to apply for these courses. Full fee or VET student loans to pay for diplomas and advanced diplomas may be available, and we'll talk about fees and costs in more detail shortly. The next type of qualification that I'll touch on are bachelor and undergraduate degrees and also universities. So bachelor's degrees and undergraduate degrees mean the exact same thing, and they normally take about 3 to 5 years to complete, depending on the qualification or the study area that you're interested in. Bachelor degrees are a combination of theory and practical learning, as well as individual and team learning. This means that there's some aspects of independent learning as part of a bachelor degree. So often you'll need to attend lectures, tutorials, workshops, labs, and you may not be with the same group of students for every class. So you might go to a couple of lectures and have completely different people in those lectures, as well as the same with tutorials. Most bachelor degrees are taught at universities, but independent tertiary colleges and TAFEs also offer more specialised degree options. So if you're interested in photography, for example, you might look at specific independent tertiary colleges for those options. A student at university generally has less contact hours than a student going through TAFE, but exam revision and assignments may need to be completed outside of class. So you're looking at normally somewhere between 12 to 16 hours in class studying at uni, and then another 12 to 16 hours studying in your own time. So that's important to note. But some students, depending on the course, will have a lot more hours. So if you're looking at going into a course in veterinary studies or medicine, normally there's quite a bit more contact hours there, as opposed to someone in different kinds of courses such as business or arts who might have 12 to 16 hours per week. VCE and IB students are eligible for courses at university, and you'll be able to apply for these through VTAC. Depending on the provider as well as the course, there will be HEX help or full fee options available. So just do your research as to the fees, but again, we'll touch on this in a little bit. And I'll now touch on independent tertiary colleges, so ITCs for short. This is another place where you'll be able to complete tertiary study, and it offers a range of vocational and higher education courses in all levels of study. So whether you're after certificates, degrees, often independent tertiary colleges will have these kind of options for you. They quite often have a specialised area in which that independent tertiary college will be strong. So it might be photography or media or something along those lines. And it works similar in many ways to TAFE or uni. And once again, fee help or full fee options might be available depending on the provider. I'm now going to pass it over to Barney, who'll touch a little bit on the student experience.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everyone. My name's Barney. I'm from the University of Melbourne, but obviously today here to talk about TIS. And as part of moving to tertiary education, there's this whole new student experience that comes with that. So you've obviously had one experience as a high school student, But I think moving on to tertiary education afterwards, there's a whole lot of new experiences that you can expect. So I'm going to touch on that for the next couple of minutes. So what type of experiences should you expect from a tertiary education? As Daniel mentioned earlier, you might like to join different clubs, societies, and sporting teams. And this is a really great part of joining a tertiary institution. And it gives you a chance to meet a whole lot of people and try some new things at the same time. Another part of the experience we'd really encourage you to think about now is traveling overseas. You might have the opportunity to go on a year-long exchange or 6-month exchange, or maybe even a 2-week or a 10-day study trip. It's a great opportunity to see the world whilst also doing your studies and not exactly adding any time to your study either. So even though it's early, it's always important to start thinking about that because it does take a little bit of planning and it might be something that you're really interested in doing. You'll also get the chance to meet new people and try new things, as we mentioned before, but there's a lot of support available as well to help you make that transition. And the institutions are here to help you with that as well. So like I said, institutions, we're here to help you along every step of the way, whether that's from transitioning from high school to the tertiary institution, or maybe it's about moving away. If you're watching this and you know that the institution that you'd like to attend isn't actually in your hometown, obviously moving away is going to be a part of that. So institutions are here to help students make that transition. As part of moving away, you might have to find somewhere else to live. And there's a couple of different options that you can do. And I think living in different accommodation and moving away from your hometown is part of the whole student experience that a lot of students go through. So when considering your accommodation, we've got a couple of options here. You might have the opportunity to complete a homestay. So maybe you've got friends or family that live in the city or the town that your institution is in, and you're lucky enough to be able to move in with them. That might be the cheapest option, and it probably also is the nicest option to help you transition into your new life and your new environment. If you don't have that option though, there is definitely some accommodation options outside of that you can start considering. So one of these might be off campus. So this is like private student living accommodation. This might be in high rises in the city, or it might be in another low set building near the campus as well. So it might not necessarily be on the campus of the institution, but it's close, as the name suggests, off campus. Still nice and close, and you're able to get to your classes pretty quickly. Speaking of getting to classes pretty quickly, there's one option which allows you to really do that, and that is on-campus living. So some institutions will have what are known as residential colleges or halls of residence. And this is where you get to live very close to campus and pretty much on campus, allowing you to roll out of bed and get to your classes nice and on time, even if you had a bit of a sleep in. And there's also, of course, a share house option. So you might be looking at renting a place with a couple of friends that you know are also moving to that town to study. That's probably a cheap option as well, but it does take a lot more planning. So if you're sitting there and it's the middle of year 12, or maybe you're even in year 11, it's time to start thinking about these things because they can take a little while to actually get underway and start planning. So accommodation, it's one of the key student experiences if you are looking to move away, and something to start thinking about now. As well as accommodation if you are moving away, but even if you're not moving away, this new student experience after high school is all about living independently. You're going to have to figure out, how am I going to manage this work, life and study balance? You've probably had some really nice structure being in high school, but that might change a little bit now that the independent learning is back on you, and you've got this opportunity to start living the life that you really would like to. There might be some new responsibilities, particularly if you're starting to move out of home. So things like shopping, you might have to start cooking for the first time. There might be bills that you're suddenly responsible for. And how are you going to make all of this work? Affording a student life is something that you do need to think about, whether you're moving out of home or not. Do you need to think about getting a casual job or a part-time work if you haven't already? Or are you eligible for different payments through Centrelink as a full-time student or as a studying person? So as well as moving out and thinking about where you might have to live, there's also a lot of other things that you need to start thinking about. And again, institutions are here to support you along the way. You won't be the first student to go through this transition. So we really know the ins and outs of what you can expect and what help you might need. So this transition, it might be something new for you, moving from high school into tertiary education. And it is about getting out of your comfort zone. It might feel a little uncomfortable and it might be a little challenging, but it's a really exciting part of your life. Some of the students that we work with, they've spoken about things like homesickness, but all of the institutions have clubs and societies to help you meet new people, build your new network. And a lot of students say that they forget about even being homesick because they've got so many things to do in those first few weeks. Like we said, It might be a little daunting to take on some new responsibilities, but you can start practicing now. And if you do need any help, know that there are institutions here to help you. And there's a lot of students going through the same thing. And we know how to assist those students as well. And I guess it's a little bit of a fear, but running out of money, it's not something that we like to think about, but proper budgeting and exploring some different income streams in the next couple of months or in the next couple of years before you decide to take on study can help ease that pressure. And again, there's lots of assistance available through institutions like Centrelink, but also through the education institutions as well. So start having a think about how you might make that work. And with that, I might pass over to Annalisa to talk about the fees and costs, speaking of money. So over to you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Barney. So although most study isn't free, one of the great things about being an Australian citizen or a permanent resident is that the Australian government want to help you get a tertiary education. The government fee assistance programs include HECS help, fee help, vet student loans and government subsidised places, based on the type of course you would like to study and your citizenship or resident status. These fee assistance programs are where the government gives you a loan to pay your tuition fees and you pay them back once you've graduated and are earning over a certain salary. For example, students that get a HECS help or vet student loan help to pay for a tertiary course will start repaying their loan once they earn up to $45,881 per year. Please note that this threshold amount has recently been updated and could possibly change in the future years to come. But don't be put off by developing a HECS debt, because the way the loan repayment works is that it comes out of your tax with small amounts per week. It's not like you have to pay the government back in bulk at all. It is really important to do some research into fees and chat to the university, TAFE or ITC individually to understand whether fee support might be available to you. We also encourage you to take a look at the Free TAFE initiative, which is essentially a range of certificate, diploma and advanced diploma courses that have their course fees covered by the government, and students don't need to pay this particular payment back. However, a student will still need to pay for material fees such as textbooks or something like a toolkit if you were going into a trade. Students will also need to cover their amenity fees, which are things like having access to the institution's resources such as their Wi-Fi. Courses that do fall under the Free TAFE initiative are for high demand areas and can change year on year, so make sure you do your research if you are interested in taking up a free course. Having access to fee assistance is great because it will help cover the cost of your study. But remember, there might be a number of other costs you have to take into consideration during this next stage of your life, such as rent, groceries, entertainment, and utilities. So if you aren't already, it might be a great time to start building up a budget and figure out what is going to work best for you. You might need to ensure you have a casual or part-time job to cover these costs as well. But another great way to go through these costs and these other living costs is through scholarships. And I'm sure many of you have already heard about scholarships before. They vary in size and are generally giving out on merit or equity. Receiving a merit type scholarship is based on your academic scores, performance, or application standard. But on the other hand, an equity scholarship may help students cover the costs of studying higher education, in particular for those that may not have been able to afford it otherwise. There are so many ways you can apply for scholarships. Some scholarships can be applied through VTAC. Some institutions might ask you to submit an application directly to them, and others might automatically consider you based on your application details or C's application. We encourage you to do your research in scholarships because it's not necessarily one size fits all with all institutions, and you have absolutely nothing to lose by submitting an application, but potentially quite a lot of money to gain. And now I will hand it back to Jackie.
Thanks, Annalisa. So now we're going to talk about how do you get there. And one of the greatest things about tertiary study is that there's so many different options out there, and you can finally train in something that you're really interested in, or develop those transferable skills at the same time. So if you do have a passion or a special interest in something, there's probably going to be a course that's perfect for you. You may already have an idea about what this might be, or you may need to do some more research, but we're going to help you to understand what you need to do in order to get there. So first of all, we're going to have a look at prerequisites and selection requirements. Most courses, including certificates, diplomas, and degrees, will have subject prerequisites and or selection requirements that must be met in order to receive an offer into the course. These can be found on the VTAC or individual institution websites, as well as in many of the course guides. You must have met the minimum prerequisite study scores for all subject prerequisites listed in the course, or you will not be considered. These study scores are the raw score for the certain VCE subject and not the scaled VCE score used to calculate the ATAR. Certain courses also require additional selection requirements that must be completed in order to apply. For example, a folio, audition, interview, a test such as the UCAT or CASPER test, or perhaps it might just be as simple as an extra form. Details about these requirements, including any due dates, can be found on the course webpage and or on the VTAC webpage. Note that similar courses may have different requirements depending on the institution, so make sure that you do your research and have a look at all the specific details for each course and the prerequisites and selection requirements required. So now we're going to talk about pathways. And pathways is a great way, an alternative way to get into your dream course. Perhaps you didn't meet the ATAR score, or you didn't meet the prerequisite subject that you needed to get into a course. Now is really the time you need to have a look at all the different institutions, all the different pathway options to get into your dream course. So a pathway basically is an alternative way to get to your dream course. So it may mean that you perhaps start out in a TAFE qualification, a diploma or a certificate in order to gain entry into a bachelor's degree. For example, we have a student called Magfira who decided to start out in a certificate of aviation in order to get into her dream course of a Bachelor of Tourism. So that's a good way to start out. Alternatively, if you maybe were interested in nursing, you might start out in a diploma of nursing, which then may allow you to progress through into a Bachelor of Nursing. And in many cases, you can take some of this credit with you into your bachelor's degree, and it will also reduce some of the time in your bachelor's degree as well.
Thanks, Jackie. So most courses will require applying through VTAC, in particular university courses. But some courses, including certificates and diplomas at TAFEs and some ITCs, may encourage you to apply directly by completing an application form from their course webpage. What you can see on the screen now are some tentative dates that have been set by VTAC, but due to COVID-19, just be mindful that these dates are subject to change. VTAC lets you apply up to 8 courses at once across multiple institutions in order of preference. So treat this as a wish list of what you're interested in studying, not just about what you think you'll get into, but make sure you do fulfill the entry requirements such as the subject prerequisites. Also be sure to include a few pathway options and use the correct course code. So VTAC also has a special entry access sheet, often referred to as Cs. This allows applicants to submit for special consideration if they have been in any circumstances that have been made difficult for you to do your best study. Cs is designed to make sure institutions get a sense of your full potential, and it enables institutions to consider the circumstances you have experienced and their impact on your studies when making selection decisions. The great thing about a Cs application is that you only have to submit one, and all the institutions you have applied for will be able to access this. So it saves you communicating your circumstances with multiple institutions. There are 4 categories in Cs, as you can see on the screen now, and you can apply for as many categories that are relevant to your situation, but you must apply to each category for a different reason. Category 1 is personal information and location, which includes age, where you live, or school location, underrepresentation of a gender in a course or field of study, Indigenous Australian recognition, if you're from a non-English speaking background, and also if you're the first in the family to attend tertiary study. Category 2 is disadvantage or financial background. Category 3 is disability or medical condition, and category 4 is difficult circumstances. Once you have submitted your application through VTAC, you'll be able to change your preferences at certain times. This is referred to as the change of preference. So once you find out your ATAR, which we think will be released around mid-December, we're not too sure yet. I know on the screen it does say the 14th of December, but again, this might be subject to change due to COVID-19. So once you do receive your ADA, the change of preference period will open, and this gives you the opportunity to rearrange your preference list, perhaps add or take away some courses that you had in your previous or your original list, and then the period will lock down. So once change of preference is over, your courses are essentially locked in. Change of preference will open again for a short period of time immediately after this particular round, and the same kind of situation will happen where you can change your preferences again for a short period of time, and they'll be locked in, ready for the next round of offers. You essentially have 3 options to choose from, which is accept, reject, or defer. And what I mean by deferring is you're telling the institution, yes, you would like to accept the offer. However, you don't want to go to that institution the next following semester. You may want to take a gap year, so you might take a semester off or perhaps a year off. But just keep in mind that change of preference happens again after each offer round to maximise being made an offer in the later rounds. Some institutions also accept direct applications after VTAC closes, and many institutions will offer a mid-year intake. And now I will hand over to Daniel to chat about what support is available.
Thanks, Annalisa. So now, I'm going to chat about what support is available. So you'll be transitioning from high school into tertiary education, and there's many ways you can access support and all the fun you'll have as being a student. So what we recommend that you do is start by researching the 3 Ps. So these are people, places, and publications. So the first one I'll touch on is people. So these are the people that either have the information on the types of career you're interested in or know you really well and can help with your decisions. So teachers, career advisors, friends, family, people currently working or studying in the industry, or representatives from different tertiary institutions such as myself, Jackie, Barney and Annalisa. So we're all here to help you find the right course for you as well as the right career for you as well. The next one is places. So these include opportunities for you to experience in person or virtually the different options you are considering, whether that's through work experience, open days, campus visits, extension programs, other industry experience days. A lot of us institutions now are doing webinars and online digital events. So highly recommend, if you interested in a specific course or an institution, seeing what that institution has on offer and registering and attending, and finding out as much information as possible to sort of help you with your decision. And the final one I'll touch on, the last P, is publications. So these include any sorts of resources or information that you can collect to assist with researching your options. So each institution a lot of the time will have their own course guides and websites. They'll have a range of information on their VTAC website and a range of other sort of publications available to you to download and read at your own leisure. So depending on where you're wanting to go, these publications will often be available on their website. So having a look through and doing the research with those around you who you feel will really help with your decision. I'll now pass it over to Barney to wrap up the session. Thanks.
Thanks, Daniel, and thanks to Jackie and Annalisa for that really great presentation. We hope that you enjoyed and got some information to help you with the process in the coming months. So all the best for the rest of the year and good luck with the rest of your studies. Make sure you jump over and like the TIS Facebook. And if you've got any questions at all, you can reach out to anyone at TIS or any institution as well. We're all here to help you. So good luck and hopefully we'll see you soon.